You know, nostalgia is like an old pair of shoes that you really, really like. They're comfortable, you wear them every day, and it feels kind of warm to just throw those pair of shoes on because it's something that you're used to, and you don't really want to try anything new or uncomfortable. But nostalgia is also like an old pair of shoes because people eventually just get tired of you being attached to them. People are like, bro, can you please buy a new pair of shoes? And that's the thing I have to be careful about when I'm playing something like Back for Blood, because at this point, across maybe two Steam accounts, I think I have maybe 4,000 hours in Left 4 Dead, and that makes it super dangerous for me to check out a game like this and give you guys my opinion on it, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna get through this because I'm not gonna let my old pair of shoes stink up the place. So we're talking about Back for Blood. And again, I am a Left 4 Dead 2 super fan, and I got to play this game in beta, and I wanted to give you guys my opinion on it so far. So maybe you might decide you want to pick this up. Off of first impressions, um, it's a pretty Left 4 Dead. Like, it looks good. The graphics are pretty crisp. I don't think I played this on full graphics. I played it on whatever it just kind of installed that, which was okay. But considering I just picked up the old Left 4 Dead, well, the old Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead, I picked it up again maybe about 2 weeks ago to kind of play it before I got into this. Left 4 Dead actually aged okay. Like, the graphics are pretty old. It's like old Source Engine stuff. It doesn't look that great in certain textures and that type of thing. But as far as the art of Left 4 Dead, that still held up pretty good. The art, the characters, the overall design and aesthetic of it, that looks good. This game does look pretty good, but it doesn't really have the character of the original Left 4 Dead. But I don't want to say that yet because the game isn't out, and I maybe haven't seen all the characters, heard all the dialogue, or played all the missions. So I definitely want to hold reservation on that. But first impression, the game is very pretty, considering this is kind of a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, and that game's kind of old. Now, the thing that separates this game probably from Left 4 Dead, as far as a franchise, is the modernization of it. Now, modernization can go both ways. In one way, like older games being updated, you're gonna get newer mechanics that make sense. Like movement. A lot of games have better movement now, but you also may get mechanics that don't make sense. Like, why is this game open world? It's just an example, right? So this has been modernized up to what people expect from a modern game. And most of those modernizations come in the form of progression. So for instance, you got like out of mission progressions, you've got a mission hub. You've never had that in like Left 4 Dead. And the out of mission progression are these like cards and attributes that you can get and buy out of the game. That's a huge change from something like Left 4 Dead, which was purely whatever you get in a mission, that's what you get. Guns, meds, characters, everything's in the mission. You can't progress outside of the mission in the original Left 4 Dead. This lets you do that. And not only do you have the out of mission hub and the cards and the upgrades and stuff, you've got a buy menu in game where the more you play through the campaign, you start with 0 points, get more points as you go through, and you can buy guns and upgrades. Now, I've got some opinions here. And again, I've only played a few hours of this, but again, 4,000 hours of Left 4 Dead, just my opinion. I think the out of mission stuff, I'm waiting to see how that turns out, because it doesn't really feel like something that I think it's adding to the experience of something like Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead was a great campaign, character, funny, amazing game, and having out of mission progression, I don't know how much that contributes to it. As far as down the road, like, of course you're going to get some people that will be into the loot chase or into the upgrade chase, but I'm not sure that helps the overall experience overall, considering the DNA of the original game. Now, the in mission progress, I definitely see some value there, because you're maybe making more choice and investment into the gun you're getting. So like, for instance, you can get a gun, but you can also get an extended mag, which will make that gun better, or you can put a scope on it, right? And you got these upgrade paths. Now, that in game, I think, is a little bit more interesting, but I don't know how impactful that is, as far as impacting your actual progress. Now, this has some crazy difficulty modes. It goes all the way up to like nightmare. So maybe in the nightmare, you may probably need a lot more of those upgrades to be able to finish those missions, but I'm not really sure why yet. And that's gonna be the thing that's gonna decide this game, because you're talking about intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. The original Left 4 Dead was a lot more intrinsic. It was about the fun. It was about the challenge. It wasn't really about a loot chase, and this seems to be going the loot chase route. And you kind of need to go, no, that kind of makes this a different game, bruh. As far as other things in the game, the mission design seems pretty fair. Like, it seems to be very much like the original Left 4 Dead games as far as like the map layout and stuff. Sometimes you don't really know what the location markers are, what you need to do to get through a part of a mission, but eventually you figure it out. Once you play through the mission one time, you've got it. It's not rocket science. And the guns, sometimes the guns feel a little military. Like, don't get me wrong, the Left 4 Dead had guns like the Scar and the M4 and tactical shotguns and all these kind of military type guns, but they also had tons of like low tech guns like AK-47s and pistols and deagles and that type of stuff. And you can kind of feel the difference of some of the guns in this game feel a little Call of Duty at times, but it's still fun. I don't really have much complaint. It's just a difference. Now, the other thing that I'm worried about, but not that worried about, is the enemies. Now, Left 4 Dead's enemies are dope. And everything from the AI to the way they move, to the way they work together, to the abilities of the enemies. So for instance, in the original Left 4 Dead, you had different classes of enemies. So you had a spitter that would just spit toxic goo on the ground, basically a YouTube comment section. You had a hunter that would pound on someone and incapacitate them, a charger that would charge and then pound on them and incapacitate them, and a smoker that would pull stuff, a boomer that would explode toxic goo everywhere. And the beauty in all those characters is they had a synergy. So for instance, if one enemy were to charge you and incapacitate you, and then a spitter would spit on top of that enemy that's being pounded, now all of a sudden that teammate is incapacitated and they're taking spit damage, right? And that is pronounced even more in the PvP, where actual people have control over the special infected or the zombies. So it had a crazy amount of synergy to the way these enemies work together. I have not seen that yet in this game. Like, for instance, you do have these big enemies that will grab you and incapacitate you. You have this kind of like enemy that spits a spider web and it will incapacitate you. But as far as how these all work together, I haven't really seen the AI work together in any meaningful way. And that's going to bring up PvP in a second, but I don't want to go there yet. But it definitely has the variety of enemy types, but it doesn't really mesh with the synergy of the original Left 4 Dead. The original Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 is magical when it comes to the way the special infected behave. I've had smokers pull enemies, teammates off of a cliff and leave you hanging, and like it's amazing AI what they do. But here they seem to be good and functional, but maybe not as magical as Left 4 Dead. But that's not really a big complaint. But that's the enemies. Now, as far as the campaign, the story, I haven't really played a lot of that, so I don't want to talk about that. There is some character dialogue between different characters. There's a mom and a daughter and all this crazy stuff. So some of the characters seem a little more fleshed out than others, but again, it's too early. I haven't played the full campaign. I haven't played all the missions, and the game is not out yet. I don't know yet, but I will tell you that the original Left 4 Dead, I warned you guys how the nostalgia was going. The original Left 4 Dead was pretty amazing in the way its characters interacted, the way characters talked about the lore and how the lore was built into the maps. Jimmy Gibbs Jr. was a race car driver, and certain characters never shut up about him. And then there's a mission where he's actually there, and it all worked together, and it's great synergy and it's great story, and it kind of adds on to the gameplay overall when you're seeing things and the characters are commenting on it. It's a great little dance of dialogue and story and mission structure, and all those things work together. In this one, the magic's not quite there, but I reserve judgment because I have not played all the campaigns and the full game is not out. Now, the big thing I'm worried about, and the main reason I have so many thousands of hours in Left 4 Dead 2, is the PvP. Now, I haven't really played the PvP yet, but I've been watching it. So take my opinion with a grain of salt on what I'm about to say. The greatest thing about Left 4 Dead 2's PvP is that it was campaign PvP, meaning in the campaign, when you went from point A to point B. So for instance, if you were in a building and the point was to get from the bottom of the building to the top and then taking a helicopter and escape, that was kind of the whole flow of the mission, right? And the great thing is, if you were on the enemy side where you were controlling the special infected, there was a lot more opportunity to ambush, like if they were walking over a bridge or if they were walking through a subway or a sewer. You had choke points and things where the PvP really shined because you would all attack together, you would work together, and you would try to kill these survivors. And having that traversal and having the survivors have to move around really made that a really good experience. This doesn't seem to have campaign PvP. It seems to have more of a horde mode where zombies are just spawning on top of the survivors, and then you kind of just spawn as a special infected. I'm a little worried about that for the longevity of the game because, again, lots of people played Left 4 Dead 2 and Left 4 Dead 1 for the campaign PvP because there was a lot more thought, a lot more teamwork in that, and this isn't here, and I haven't heard them say anything about they're going to add it. So as far as playing 2,000-3,000 hours of this, probably not, but only time will tell, especially when there are popular games out there like Dead for Daylight, who essentially do it in more of a competitive gaming sense. So we'll kind of have to wait and see how this matches up with something like Dead by Daylight, because people are playing tons of that. But that's what I think about the game. I don't know. It seems okay. I'm not sure if I'll put thousands of hours in this, but seeing a modernized Left 4 Dead kind of makes me happy. And since Valve can't count to 3, we're gonna have to take this, and we'll take it.